Welcome back to the 2 Point Show, where we give you the latest sports rundown. We are your hosts, Gideon and Joey, breaking down stories, giving hot takes, and interviewing athletes around the world. From buzzer beaters to bold predictions, we will give you fresh analysis, real opinions, and some fun arguments along the way. So whether you're tuning in on your drive, in the gym, or simply on your couch, get ready for a good one. This is the 2 Point Show. What's up, guys? This is an awesome interview today. We are inside of Oakland University's film room, and we are with the head coach of Oakland University men's basketball team. We got Coach Greg Kampe with us here in person today. Coach, it is an honor for you to come onto our show, and just thank you so much.
Oh, it's an honor for me to be part of what you're doing.
Yeah, man, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, first, we got a bunch of questions for you, a bunch of topics, but quick word from our sponsor.
At the 2 Point Show, we love supporting local businesses, and we're proud to partner with the Ignasiak Family Dairy Queen once again this summer. This year, they're celebrating their 50th year anniversary of their Dairy Queen, making 5 decades of serving the community with frozen treats, food, and the ice cream favorites families have enjoyed for years. To help celebrate, they're offering our audience a special deal. Just tell them you're from the 2 Point Show and you'll get a 20% off from your order. Visit the Ignasiak Family Dairy Queen at 1525 Baldwin Avenue. That's 1525 Baldwin Avenue in Pontiac. Celebrate 50 years and treat yourself to some ice cream while you take advantage of the offer. Now back to our show.
So we got our opening question first. Tell us, you just got a new gig with U8.
Tell them about who he is.
Oh yeah, this is Coach Kampe. He's 40 plus years. Obviously, the big win in the tournament over Kentucky 2 years ago. But opening question, what are you doing this time of year? You just picked up a gig with the U18 team or U19 team?
It's the U18.
Gotcha.
Normally this time of year is supposed to be the easy time.
Yeah.
May is supposed to be the month that it leads into June. The players come back in June and you get going again. But because of the new rules with the portal and the transfers we're really roster building. So I think we're done. We've got some contracts to get signed, and once those contracts are signed, I think we have our roster.
Gotcha.
I leave Wednesday for our league meetings, and from there I go to Colorado Springs.
Wow.
For the training session for the USA basketball, the 18 and under team. I've been designated as a court coach. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
I'll get out there and they'll tell me what I'm doing, and it's my first association with the national team, and I'm very excited to do that. And you start at the lower level, and hopefully you can work your way up. That maybe in a couple of years I'll be able to, actually go on a trip with them and those types of things. So I'm excited about going out there this week.
So how did you get that gig?
They called me and asked me if I'd be interested, and I said, yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very awesome. So opening life and story with basketball, we're going to start with that for you. So where did your love for basketball first come from?
Oh, I was a football player that happened to be good at basketball, and back in my day, you played every sport. There weren't it was all seasonal. Basketball didn't go all year round. Football didn't go all. There were no 7-on-7 camps or AAU basketball or anything like that. So you just went from sport to sport. Football was really. My dad was a high school football coach. He played football at Michigan, and I was brought up in a football family. So that was really the sport that I loved. Basketball just happened to be something I was pretty good at, for my era, and. When I wanted to, when I was time to pick a profession, I got offered a coaching job in basketball. So
Yeah.
that's how it started.
Worked out well. So
Yeah.
let's talk about a little bit about your family. What did you learn from, either your parents or your family that still sticks with you today, like in your coaching profession and just everyday life as well?
Well, I'm like everybody. I think not everybody, but the majority of people. The most influential people in your life are your parents, and how they brought you up, what they exposed you to, what they taught you, you know, what kind of habits you have, all those types of things. And then, you know, there's always those things your dad said to you when you were little that, you know, just sit in the back of your mind. So those things pop in there, you know, all the time. And I even now, I mean, it's to the point where even if my dad didn't say it, I said he does, you know.
For sure.
They were very, very influential. They gave me a great foundation for life. They were, you know, very supportive, loving, caring, great family, small town, you know. So I was lucky, very lucky.
What city did you grow up in?
I was born in Saginaw.
Oh.
My parents are from Detroit. My father got out of coaching when I was like 7 years old, and he took a job with General Motors, and they moved him to a little town in Ohio, Defiance, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, I spent the rest of my child life there and graduated from high school there and went to Bowling Green, which is 45 minutes from Defiance.
Right.
So, you know, I've lived my whole life in a 2 to 3 hour circular area.
That's awesome. Yeah, my grandparents are from Saginaw as well. They have a place there, so they love it too. They've been there my whole life, and my mom grew up there and everything. So, a little circle moment there. I think that's pretty cool. So, next question for you. Just, were you always sure you wanted to coach, or did you have an idea of maybe going somewhere else when you were younger?
No, I can't even tell you I wanted to coach. People kept telling me I should, you know.
Yeah.
Coaches that I played for, people that were in the profession, they all at that stage, they all just, you know, they thought that would be, you know, something that I would be good at or that I would enjoy doing. I really never wanted to coach. I wanted to be a sports caster. It's funny because when I graduated from college, I applied for the Channel 11 in Toledo. They had a job opening. I applied for that. At the same time I signed with the Seattle Seahawks, a free agent contract. And then the third thing was the head coach at the University of Toledo, Bob Nichols, offered me the graduate assistant job. It's very hard to get into coaching, but like I said, people had kept suggesting to me that I do that. And I didn't get the gig with Channel 11. I did get the GA job at Toledo, and Coach Nichols told me that if I go to camp with the Seahawks, then he was going to get someone else. And he wasn't threatening me, or, you know, he was just telling me, you got to make a decision, you know. And he was like, you should probably go to Seattle. But, you know, my contract I signed in 1978 was worth $29,500, or maybe it was $27,900 or some. It was in the high 20s. There weren't a lot of 5'9" white defensive backs in the NFL at the time. There still aren't. But what really screwed things up is my agent got in trouble with the law. In that, back in those days, agents were financial advisors first, and something happened, and I really never got the full idea of what it was, but I kind of lost him in the negotiations and that, so I just decided I would take the Toledo GA job, and never did I think that would lead to where I am today. You know, I like every other 22-year-old, I've just kind of seen what the next day would bring.
Sure.
You know.
100%.
So when you first got to Oakland, like when you first took the job, where was the university, the program? Where was it? How did you find it and build it up? What was your plan, I guess, saying?
I really didn't have a plan. I was an assistant coach at so I spent my first year at Toledo as a GA, then they made me a full-time assistant. I was there 6 years, and I'm sitting at my desk, and the Toledo baseball coach pops his head around the partition, and he goes, hey, we played a school yesterday where they got a head coaching job opened, and I think you should go look at it. I think they could be good. And I said, hey, Stan, okay, where's it at? And he goes, Oakland. And I go, you guys were in California? You know, I said, I'm not. I had no interest. He goes, no, it's up in the Detroit area. He goes, you should really go take a look at it. So that night I got in my car and I drove up there and I drove around it, and I found out that Kevin Nash, who was a big-time wrestler, Back in the day, he was called the Big Sexy, but he's
Okay, that sounds familiar.
yeah.
Actually.
If you look it up, he was big time.
Yeah.
But he's a friend of mine, and I found out that his sister was going to school here, playing women's basketball. So I called Kevin. I talked to him. He at that point he was not Mr. Sexy. He was he was just a guy trying to make it. He was a 7-footer that played basketball at Tennessee, and we couldn't make it in the NBA, and he went into that business, professional wrestling. And so I met his sister, and she took me around campus and everything, so I applied for the job.
That?
And
That's a cool story.
Yeah, that's how I ended up getting the job.
Yeah.
Very cool. My turn? Okay. So, did you ever, now that you've been here for over 40 plus years, was there any time in there where you ever thought about leaving?
Oh, I think about leaving every day. I mean, yeah, I've looked at a lot of jobs. Early in the years, when we were Division II school, the first 14 years we were Division II, and early there I probably applied. I actually applied for jobs. I tried to get back and get the Toledo head coaching job when Coach Nichols retired. I tried to get the Bowling Green job. I interviewed for the University of Detroit job, and I didn't get any of them. And then later on, most of those jobs came after me later, but by then Oakland had been, I consider them equivalent or if not better jobs.
Right.
And so I wasn't going to leave. I mean, I've got offered 3 or 4 MAC jobs, since then that I have no interest in. And the only job that I got offered that I turned down that I wonder about is I was offered an assistant coaching job with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh, wow.
And Jack McCluskey, who was a very close friend of mine, left here, went there. I was helping him with some stuff, and if he was probably earlier in life at that time, I probably would have taken it. But I knew he only had 2 or 3 years left, and I wasn't going to give up what I had to, maybe I'm in the NBA for 2 years, then he retires, and boom, and that's a business where you're. Maybe I would have gotten an opportunity, maybe I wouldn't have. So I wonder about that one, but the rest of them I have no regrets or anything about.
Yeah. Very cool. So kind of elaborate, you're so loyal to Oakland University, obviously, but what does Oakland mean to you personally? I mean, you didn't even go here, and it's, you've been here more than half your life. So what does Oakland mean to you personally?
Well, I think we're starting the 60th year of basketball, and this is my 43rd year as a coach. So, most of our fans, probably there isn't a fan out there. There might be 1 or 2 that knows a different basketball coach than me, right? The whole generation of Oakland, multi-generations of Oakland basketball fans only know Greg Kampe as their coach. And that's kind of a cool thing. It really is. But I've seen this campus go from about 8,000 or 9,000 students when I got here, all the way up to 20, and then during the pandemic back down to 15, and now inching back up towards 20,000 again. I've seen, most of the buildings. There were probably only 7 or 8 buildings on campus when I got here. Maybe a few more, but not many more. So I've seen most of the buildings built. So. I feel like it's been a way of life for me. I feel like it's been a huge part of my life. My boys loved living here. They grew up in the area. They went to high school in the area. One of them's still in the area. But, from the family standpoint, this just been my life. And been very fortunate that I've been able to lead a life like that.
That's awesome. So I want to talk to you about coaching for over 40 plus years and just players and coaching strategies and such, but my first question for you is, how have players over 40 years changed? How have they just changed? Personality, talent, you tell us.
Yeah, I mean, players change with society. The societal changes are what changes the beliefs of the players, how they were brought up. Like, I was brought up a certain way. A lot of my players on my team now are brought up in no way were they brought up anywhere near the way I was brought up. It's just part of life, you know. I've always thought that everyone you're products of your environment, right? That we're all. So I never get mad at a player for being the way he is, because I look at what was around him that got him to be this way. And I try and have an impact on getting my beliefs and my way as a, you know, I don't want to force those beliefs on him, but I want to show him, you know, that these thoughts exist out there, and you know, you've got to look at everything as you decide how to live your life and what you believe in that. But from a player standpoint, you know, the entitlement of players has really changed because of how they've been brought up and how the system works. Right. You know, I would have paid Bowling Green to let me play on their team, and now I've got to pay players to play. Yeah. I look at the idea of the coach or authority. When I grew up, authority, you stood in line and you yes sir'd and no sir'd, and you did not question authority ever. Now, I'm not a believer that it should be that way. I think all authority should be questioned in the right way, but we do not respect authoritative figures. This generation does not. There's this entitlement that, you know, I've got to do what's best for me. And, you know, if you look at, and I don't want to get political here, but if you look at how we look at our police force, how we look at our politicians, how we look at the people that are in charge of our lives, it's changed so much from when I was your age to what people think today. No one would have ever challenged a policeman. No one would have ever challenged, you know, so I don't like that, but I understand it, and I've got to help these young men maneuver their way through the new beliefs and the new looks.
For sure. So are you a fan of the changes? Or are you like of how time has evolved and such? Or do you wish you were maybe back in the 90s?
Well, I can go way back to the 50s and 60s. I think there's a lot of good change. I think there are. I always thought players should be getting paid. I don't. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're being paid today. They should not. It just shouldn't be that way.
Right.
But I always I think the NCAA's archaic rules caused a lot of this. I've had some great point guards: Jalen Moore, Jonathan Jones, Kay Felder, all the way back to Brian Gregory. Those guys should have been able to run point guard camps in the summer and been able to monetize their stardom, and they weren't ever allowed to do that. And that's what's caused now. You got guys that can't play that are expecting to get paid thousands of dollars.
Right.
You know, and it shouldn't be that way. It should still be amateur athletics, but they should be able to monetize who they are. So, you know, Jack Golke should be able to run a shooting camp and make $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 in a summer off it. You know, those are the things I believe in. I don't think kids should be being paid to play, because it's still supposed to be amateur athletics. And then I'll argue with anybody, and they're going to think they won the argument, but they didn't. I will argue that $100,000, $150,000 education, you know, a scholarship, a full scholarship, and getting an education that save, you know, the people that are out there that have to pay for that themselves, that have to take student loans, and student loans that follow them through life. They have to work 3 jobs in order to take 4 classes. That what we're giving this athlete is way more important. That they don't have to go through life like that. They don't have student loans following them. They don't have. And then, you know, the statistics are proven that people with degrees earn way more money in life than people that don't have college degrees. Now, are there people out there that don't have college degrees that have made millions? Sure there are, but, you know, there's the oddball in everything. But statistically, the mean shows, I think it's something like a $25,000 a year difference in what you make if you have a college degree.
Right.
And so we're, as an amateur, supposedly they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars that way, right? And those are what's important. Having a used Escalade 5 years from now is not that important, right? If I give a kid all this money to play and he spends it unwisely, versus, and there's a lot of people that argue that with me, but I love that argument because I'm always going to win that argument.
We had one of your guys that you just said. We had Kay Felder on last guest episode. Fun fact for you. So if you want to go check that out, you can for sure. Yeah.
So you're obviously you said what players change, coaching change, but is there any old school coaching things that still work like nowadays?
Oh, not really. Not really. The only non-negotiable I have anymore is time. I mean, in the old days, man, everybody had to wear the same uniform, the same undershirt, the same shoes, the same socks. We were a team.
Right.
So we were supposed to all dress and look like a team. And it's hard to, Steph Curry goes out and wins the NBA championships. He's the MVP of the series, and he's wearing purple shoes. It's hard for me to tell a kid he can't wear purple shoes. So those, I've changed with all that. The only non-negotiable I still have is time. You've got to be on time. If you're not on time, you're going to be punished very, very strongly. And that is something that I have to teach my young men is the value of time. And when you don't live on it, if everybody's got to live at your timetable, you're telling everybody you're way more important than they are. You're more important than the team. You're more important than the coaching staff. You're more important than your roommate. And so we're not gonna. I don't care. That's never gonna change. The rest of the rules and the rest of the old school stuff. Sparky Anderson used to be it's my way or the highway guy, and in this day and age, he'd be on the highway because you just can't do that anymore. Because again, as we said earlier, they're products of their environment. They'll look at you like you have three eyes if you tell them, we all have to wear the same outfit. I mean, it's just the sign of today. But yeah, I'm pretty strict on time. You must be on time.
That's life. You got to be on time to everything. That's
what
awesome.
they're going to learn. There's a lot of people that aren't. There's a lot of people that don't believe they have to be.
It's crazy that people don't think that, isn't it? Like just in general in life, just show up, and you're gonna do showing up is probably the most important part, and you're probably 50% of the way done.
Yeah, but they do it and they get away with it.
True.
And if you can get away with something, then you continue. The pattern continues, and
True.
You also have this. Well, we'll take care of it. That's
gotta hold them accountable.
The big thing is the world out there will take care of you. This generation of parents is, I don't want anything bad to happen to my child. I'm going to help them. I'm not going to teach them. I'm not going to let them pick themselves up. I'm going to help them.
For
and
sure.
that's, in my opinion, that we're going down a really slippery path with that.
Mm-hmm. So, different subject here. We talked about NIL and roster building, but how has the transfer portal changed roster building for you and college basketball?
Well, it's the most significant change in the history of amateur athletics.
100%.
The history of the NCAA. There's nothing that even comes close to comparing it. This idea of going and it's going to. Everybody says, how are you going to change it? And it's going to change because 5 years from now, when all the data is coming in and no one's graduating, that's when Congress and the movers and shakers of the sports world and of the life are going to step in and say, okay, enough's enough, because there's no one that can transfer to 4 different universities in 4 years and graduate.
Right.
The new rule coming in that it will be voted on May 22nd, and I'm sure it's going to pass, is you get 5 seasons and you'll get to play 5 years and 5, but you only have 5 seasons. It's age-based. From the time you're 19 years old until you're 24, you can play college sports. You can play all 5 seasons. Or from the time you graduate from high school, it's 5 years. And so they're going to let you play 5 years. Now, if they continue to let you transfer everywhere, no one will graduate.
No.
Not with a meaningful degree. I'm sure that athletic departments at the Power Fives, where money is so important, will come up with mythological degrees of general studies, but it won't be a meaningful degree. It won't be a degree that you'll be able to use, go into a job interview and use. So they're going to have to come back and put a limitation on transfers. I think the one-time transfer rule is fine. Everybody chooses the wrong school. A coach doesn't tell you the truth, or you think you're better than you were, or whatever. I think the one-time transfer thing is a fine rule. But then they've got to put in, the second time you transfer, you have to sit out a year, which means because of the new 5-on-5 rule, you'll lose a year of eligibility. And so that'll deter everybody. I'm just going in the portal to see how much money I can make everywhere. For example, I get a freshman that's the freshman of the year in the league now. So if we go to the 5-on-5, we go back to recruiting high school kids probably, which is part of the reason they're doing it. So I recruit Joe Smith from Oxford High School, and Joe Smith's the freshman of the year in the Horizon League. Joe's got a really tough decision to make now, because he can go get a lot more money in year 2, but if he fails, which 95% of them fail, now he's got 3 years of eligibility left, and if he sits out a year by transferring back, or he's going to lose a year playing, which means nobody's going to pay him if you're not playing. So most likely what you'll see happen, you'll see a few idiots make that decision, yeah. But what most likely will happen is the kid will stay with me for 3-4 years. And then either in year 5 or year 4, he'll make his transfer year that year, where he'll make some money for 3 years and then go get the big payday there. Because if you take a little money, take a big payday, and then flame out, you're losing 3 years that you could be making money.
Makes sense.
So the the logistics of it will probably limit. So I do think it should be that. I do think if a coach is fired, everybody there, or a coach leaves, everybody there should be able to enter the transfer portal without, even if it's a second time, without limitation, because the NCAA doesn't want kids going to school for coaches. They want them to go for schools, but that's just not the way it is. The coaches recruit the kids. We have the relationship with the kids and the families and that. So they really do come for the coaches.
Yeah. So, you touched on families. How important are, parents in the recruiting aspect? When you're recruiting a kid, do you talk to their parents about, how's this kid in school and all that?
Oh, you used to. You don't anymore. I mean, it's no. I mean, you talk to agents now. The whole thing is it's a financial transition now. That's all it is. We brought 5 portal kids in this year. We signed 5 portal kids. We probably brought 8 on campus to visits, and of the 8, only 2 that came in had both sets of parents, and one other had one of the parents. Everybody else was just there by themselves or with their agent or that. And my conversation with the parents, we had one young man that, 2 young men that we got both these 2 young men whose parents came were like the old days. I mean, we showed them all about the academics. We showed them about the safety of our campus. We showed them campus life here and that. Mm-hmm. But that's few and far between today.
Wow.
That's very, very seldom. And even then, if somebody else would have offered them $75,000 more than we did, they wouldn't have come to Oakland. They would have gone there. Yeah. So it's all financial driven.
So what do you want players to learn besides basketball, being an Oakland U basketball player under you?
Oh, I mean, I hope that we're teaching them life lessons. I hope that when they leave here, they go out into the real world and they understand that life's a team sport, and that they can be a great leader on the team in their life, their families, their team, their workplaces, their team. That they have all the skills to go out and be successful, not just as a follower, but as a leader. And Obviously, we want them to have a great experience at Oakland. We want them to have a great athletic experience. We want to win, all those types of things. But what we want to do is release them into the world as solid people, solid citizens that can have success, so that when they're 37 years old, they look back and say, wow, I'm having a great life. I have a great family, and I look back at Oakland, and Oakland had a lot to do with that.
What do you think the hardest conversation is to have with a player, like any time of the year?
Oh, that's an easy one. I mean, why they're not playing?
Really?
Why are they not? Every player has dreams, and just like every person has dreams. And my whole recruiting pitch to them when we bring them here is that we want to be the catalyst that helps you achieve every dream that you have. And obviously, when you're bringing in 15 guys on a team and only 5 play, 8 play, 9 play, but 3 to 4 play a lot of minutes, there's 5 or 6 guys that in their mind aren't reaching their dreams. And having those conversations, especially when they're older, maybe not even anymore, because now everybody expects they should be playing immediately. But having those conversations are the hardest ones, and trying to navigate through that and what you have to do to get more minutes, what you have to do, those conversations are the hardest to have with players.
So we're going to jump around here, just a bunch of miscellaneous questions. So I want to talk about the 2024 season and that Kentucky game. I see that smile on your face now. Yeah. Just what did the Kentucky March Madness win in 2024 mean to you personally, and then what did it mean to Oakland team and Oakland University?
Well, for me personally, obviously experiencing it was very cool. It's more of a pain in the butt than it is, the other way around, because I'm to the point now that the recognition of it is just too much. I really like to go sit down and have dinner somewhere and not get bothered. But it comes with it, so I understand it. But what it did for the university, what it did for our players, Jack Golke went from 5,000 followers on 500 followers on Instagram to 11 o'clock that night he had 45,000 or 65,000 or so. It was an unbelievable number. What it did for Trey, what it did for every member of that team, and what it did for Oakland University, the publicity, the monetary side of it, what I liked the most was the people that were in Pittsburgh. To a man or to a woman, every time I see somebody that was there, they talk. It was the best weekend of their lives. It was the most exciting.
Yeah.
It was my kids, my own sons. They still talk about how much fun that was for those 4 days that we were in Pittsburgh, and the experience was just unbelievable for our fans, for the people that work here, for everybody. It was just an uplifting weekend. And it, it's the little train that can, or whatever that thing was. You have the special time, and there was a lot of work put in, and a lot of people were rewarded the work. I said at the beginning of this, it's a pain in the butt for me sometimes, and it is. But because of that, it really keeps Oakland in the spotlight, and it's something that you can never replace. There's no way you can ever replace what that weekend did for this university and for our fan base and for all our students who, they got to listen to Michigan and Michigan State all the time, and they got, but for that one shining moment, we were right there with everybody and in the national spotlight. And it's a lot of fun.
So what's your thoughts now on March Madness expanding to 76 teams?
Oh, I'm against it, but they didn't ask me.
Everyone's against it.
Yeah, I don't think very often people make decisions when 87 or 84% of the people that were asked about it were against it, and they still went ahead and did it. That's an unusual strategy, so we'll see how it goes.
So you play Michigan State every single year, and we see stuff in pressers, and you guys look like your best buddies. Tell us about your relationship with Coach Tom Izzo.
Well, he and I, we're from the same piece of cloth. 43 years ago when I got this job, he was, a GA, I think, or not a GA, he was probably the film guy or something at Michigan State. He was the low man on the totem pole there, and we would run into each other on the road, and we would, and as the years go by, we would, it's not a relationship like you would say, oh, they were roommates somewhere and they've kept in touch, and that it's really more of a necessity thing in that, I go into that gym, oh, there's that guy is, oh, yeah, come on, let's go have lunch, somebody to hang with that you knew, and he was in the same, a Michigan State guy that's down at the bottom. Oakland's, we're Division II, we're, and nobody's paying attention to us, right? And we just became friends, and then obviously Oakland went Division I, he got the head coaching job, and we'd be out in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, recruiting, and we'd go eat lunch here, and it just, it's just a real situation, I mean? It's not, it's just a guy, just a guy that, you like each other because you fought the same battles, you have the same beliefs, and all those lunches and all those sitting in bleachers and all the conversations, it's, geez, can you believe this crap? And can you, and you carry the same thoughts, you carry the same beliefs, and you become friends, and then, you cheer like hell for him. I want him to win everything he does. I want that just because of that, and it's been unique. I mean, the two longest tenured coaches in the country are him and I. And we came up together in the same state,
right,
an hour apart. So it's I think the word you used was genuine, and that's exactly what it is. Just this, it's all genuine. It's not made up, you couldn't make this up.
Right.
It just, and he's been loyal to me. He's really helped Oakland. He's helped me raise a lot of money for cancer. He's helped me raise a lot of money for my program. I don't think Oakland would be where it is without him, and I don't think you can reverse that. I think Michigan State would still be where they are without me. So, I'm the guy that's gotten the biggest advantage out of this, probably.
Yeah.
So tell us about the game. I think it was like 2014 or 2015 against Izzo, and you were in the Palace, and you guys lost in overtime. Do you remember that one? I'm assuming so. That was probably a tough one to swallow. I'm a Michigan State student, so I apologize. But just tell us about that game. I mean, at the Palace, that probably must have been awesome.
Yeah, it was Michigan State's ranked number 1 in the country. Denzel didn't play in our game, so
that's right.
He didn't play. He was injured. Kay Felder went off in the first half. We had just beaten Washington at Washington by 25. We thrashed Washington, and they had 2 lottery picks on their team. And we came in here, the Palace, the largest crowd in the history of the Palace that night.
Wow.
The game was on ESPNU, and it ended up being the largest, the most watched game of the year on ESPN.
Oh, my goodness.
And basically what they did is when it looked like Michigan State was going to lose, they switched all the games to watch the last couple of minutes. So that's why it had so many viewers.
That's funny.
We had a 13-point lead at halftime. Came back. Felder shoots a shot with 4 seconds to go. Ball rolls around the rim, hangs on the rim, and it doesn't go in. If it goes in, he got fouled, so he'd have a free throw. We were down 2, would have tied it. He makes the free throw, we win the game. Instead, it goes to overtime, and we're down 2 with 25, 30 seconds to go, and Kay goes in, makes a spin move, makes a shot to tie it, and they call him for a charge and take the basket away, and it was his 5th foul. So he's out of the game. I think we lose by 4 or 6 then in overtime. I think it It was a game that would have changed the course of Oakland basketball. I think we would have had, we beat Kentucky and now we've got a practice facility. I think if we win that game that night, we'd have had the practice facility in 2016 instead of waiting to 26. It really, it hurt us more than it helped them. It really hurt us because, 22,000 people at the game, another 8 million watching on TV, and there we were, our moment. We got that Kentucky moment 10 years later, but we would have had the moment 10 years earlier, and that would have meant the world, obviously, to our fan base, to everybody. And the guy that made the call was my favorite official of all time, too, a very close friend of mine. So, I can't, as mad as I was, I couldn't be too mad.
What did Tom say after that game?
He said, you should have won. He said, or maybe you, it's been 10 years, so, but, I know it was you had us or, something. And,
yeah.
But, that's a tough moment. That shot for Oakland, that was a tough moment because we acquitted ourselves, but we don't want to be the nice little story, We've always been a nice little story, and when we beat Kentucky, it wasn't a nice little story. Now it's you're here, right?
Right.
That would have got us there 10 years earlier.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, when we interviewed Kay like a week or two ago, you said that game still haunts me.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's that's a perfect way to say that. Do you have a favorite restaurant near Oakland at all, or?
Near Oakland?
Yeah.
Yeah, around this area.
Oh, I go to a lot of restaurants, so my favorite, just mom and pop place probably is RJ's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
sure.
So
Yeah.
go see Russ Luxton all the time. But my favorite restaurant in the Detroit area is Joe Mears down in the Renaissance building. That's my go-to place. I like that, and they're actually moving January 1st. They're going to move into the new JW Marriott that's being built downtown. But I'm a big restaurant, big food guy, so I go to a lot of places.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite fast food at all, or?
Well,
try to stay away from it, or?
No, I need to try and stay away from it.
Everyone does.
Yeah, but I like any type of fried chicken, any type of chicken tenders, things that. I like that. You gotta find, gotta have that.
Like a Raising Cane's, Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, there's a place. I'm trying to remember. It's a tea place.
Kung Fu Tea. Yeah.
Kung Fu Tea.
Kung Fu Tea.
They have the best chicken strips.
Really?
Oh,
like right over by Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yeah, right by Buffalo. But
Okay.
they're all over. What's it called again?
Kung Fu Tea.
Kung Fu Tea. The lady that cuts my hair, I was waiting for her, and I wanted to get something, and so I had about a 15-minute wait, and it was right by the place. And she said, yeah. I asked her if she wanted something. She told me what she wanted in there. I went in, and they had fried chicken. I go, you got chicken in here? They go, yeah. And they go, it's really good. I go, okay, give me, 3 chicken strips or whatever. And it's the best. It's better than Raising Cane's. It's better, and I'm a big Raising Cane's guy, but it's better than any of those.
It's just so crispy.
And yeah.
Well, you heard it here first on Livernois and Walton Boulevard.
Right.
Go to Kung Fu Tea and get their chicken strips. I'm gonna have to try that out. I've never heard that in my life, but that's insane. So
I don't think they want you to hear about it because it's you don't even know they serve food like that.
That's crazy.
Probably have like 5 pounds of it.
Yeah.
So, besides Kentucky, because we know that's your favorite one, probably. Give us another favorite Kampe win.
Oh, I think my all-time favorite win is when we beat Michigan here.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to remember that. It was a time ago. But for me, when your father played football at Michigan, your brother played football in Michigan, you grew up. I grew up every Saturday from 5 years old until I couldn't go to any more at Michigan football games. Every week I was there. I was in that stadium, before you could sit in the end zone in the first half. Second half, you go sit over by 50-yard line. There'd only be 40,000, 50,000 people at the games when I was growing up. And so to beat Michigan here at Oakland, in the arena.
In the arena.
Yeah, that was, of everything, that'll always be my favorite.
Yeah.
Now it didn't do what beating Kentucky did for us. It wasn't the national splash like that, but for me personally, that was the biggest win.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have a favorite in-game moment? Do you have a funny in-game moment at all, or any crazy campy shenanigans happen? Or
I'll tell you one. I'm saving. I was going to save, but I'll tell you guys it.
I guess we're lucky.
So, in 2005, maybe, and we ended up going to the NCAA tournament that year.
It's a good year, yeah.
Yep, but we had a really stressful season, and we had a player that was a great player. And I called a timeout with 30 seconds to go in the half, and I drew up what I wanted to run. The
First
shot
half?
clock was off, right? The shot clock was off. 30 seconds to go in the first half. We're going to hold the ball and run this play. And so we go out, and I was angry at my team, really angry. Things weren't going well. And the guy, I'm not going to name names, but the guy who was a great player just held the ball, shot clock went down, he just dribbled 3 or 4 times and shot it. Didn't even try to run the play. And you know where our bench is. I went down, walked past the scorer's table, walked past their bench, out the arena door and out the outside doors, the VIP entrance, and went to my car.
Oh my God!
And I got to my car and I didn't have my keys.
Oh.
If I had my keys,
You're
I
out.
would not be sitting here today.
Oh my gosh!
That's how upset I was, and I was done. And I came back. The VIP door was locked. I couldn't get in. I had to walk all the way around to the front of the arena, and there are people out there. Back in that day, people would go outside to smoke at halftime. People out there smoking. Somebody looks at me and goes, "What are you doing out here?" I go, "I need a smoke." And I went in through the front doors, went back down. By the time I got to the locker room, it was time. It was time to go out. My staff's just looking at me like, "Where the?" And I just went in and opened the door.
That's awesome.
Opened the door of the locker room. I go, "Okay, let's go." We went out. I don't remember if we won or lost the game,
I was going to ask that.
but I ended up going back to the bench, coaching the second half. If I had my keys,
You wouldn't be here.
Nope.
Did he play a good
I
second
would
half?
have never coached in the Division I NCAA tournament because that was the year we went for the first time.
Oh my goodness. Did he play a good second half, that player? Or did you
I
not
don't
remember?
remember.
Don't remember?
Do not remember.
So, we hear you're a big golfer.
I do play a lot of golf.
You do play a lot of golf. I've heard you played at Oakland Hills. Just tell us about your game a little bit.
It's not that good. It used to be pretty good, but it's not that good. I got 2 fake knees and 2 fake hips, and I can't hit it. If I hit it 225, that's a good shot now. So it's hard to play as you get older, and my ego's too big to go up and move up to the old man tees. So my handicap has gone way up.
What is your handicap?
I think I'm at like a 12 now.
Oh, so you'd still beat us. I'm like a 16. So, one more question for you before we close it up here. He's got one more after that. Just, what's the Christmas sweater idea with you and Coach Izzo?
There's a long story behind that, but one year I called him on the phone and said, "Hey, I want to change your image," because I had worn some crazy sweaters, and I remember.
Yeah, look behind you.
Yeah. No, I wore one the first year I ever did it. It had a moose head coming out of the front and the tail coming out of the back. I mean, it was a 3D sweater.
Oh my!
And they put it on that TV show Around the Horn.
Yeah.
On ESPN, yeah. And they were discussing, did I go too far wearing a sweater at the game? I think it was the final question, they have where one guy talks for 2 minutes. And so it had gotten a lot of publicity. And I called Iz and I said, "Look, I'm going to change your image." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "We're going to wear Christmas sweaters. We're going to wear ugly Christmas sweaters. We're going to be the first coaches to ever do that. We're going to bring attention to that. We're good guys, okay?" And so he agrees to it, but I never thought he was going to do it. So I went out before the game, and I didn't have mine on because I figured I didn't want to be an idiot out. Because the first time we did it was at the Breslin Center. If we were at Oakland, it would be different. But we were
You guys
at
were
the
those big
Breslin
green
Center.
Grinch ones, right?
Yeah, and so he wasn't out, so I had to make a decision. He said he's going to do it, but so I put mine on. I go out, and he comes out, and he's got this elf sweater on.
Oh, man.
And about 8 minutes into the game, he gets a technical.
Yes.
And the
It's
fans,
iconic.
Yeah, the fans start calling him. The media net started calling him the angry elf. So now he's really angry with me because I was supposed to be changing his image, and it made his image worse, right?
Yeah.
So I let a year go by, and then I called him and said, "Now this time we're going to wear the exact same thing, so we can't, And that's when we wore the two Grinches at the at Little Caesars Arena. And then last year, I get a text from him in August. I'm in Cabo in Mexico, and I get a text from him saying, "My wife's going to call you about the Christmas sweaters." And I'm like, "It's August, and we're thinking of Christmas sweaters?" So a few minutes later, she calls, and she's doing the Christmas sweaters this year.
Oh, Lord.
She took the whole thing over, and that's how we ended up with the one that's up there. So this year, it's my turn again. So I'm trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do.
You were the nice guy this year, though.
Yeah, well, like I said, that was her. I told her when it was over, I should have worn the one with him on it, and he should have worn the one with me on it. But we're learning.
That's funny, dude.
So, last question here. After more than 4 decades at Oakland, what do you want fans to know about you, your players, and just your program in general?
Well, I think after 43 years, you can't fool them, right? And what I want them to think and what they think probably aren't the same thing because after 40 years, they've made up their minds, right? But I'm hoping that they think, that we put out really good young men that play their ass off, that represent the university, that, the kids that they'd want to bring home and have dinner with, that, that the young man that they would be happy if their daughter dated or something like that. That good people, play hard, represent the university well, get a good education, go to school, do the things you're supposed to do. Some of that old school stuff we talked about earlier, that would be what I would want. And we win some games.
So how many years do you have left?
That's a really good question. I am getting asked that a lot now. I have 3 years left on my contract. I would suspect that I will, I'm not guaranteeing I will finish those 3 years. I suspect I will, but I don't know. I did find out that if I coach 8 more years, I'll set the all-time record for the most games coached in the history of college basketball at any level.
That's tempting, isn't it?
Well, 8 years is a long time.
Yes, it is.
So, and then when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, I could do that. And then I started thinking, so what if I do? Are they going to put that on my tombstone? Or, what does it really mean,
Right.
So that I gotta come to grips with all that. But
For sure.
I know I'm going to coach next year, and that's all I'll talk about now.
For sure. Well, hey, everyone, this is going to wrap up the episode with Coach Greg Kampe. It was an honor to have you on to the 2 Point Show, our show, and just thank you so much for giving your time and opportunity for us.
It's my pleasure. I think you need more advertisers, though. So people that are out there, you need to. This is going to be a big-time show someday, so get in early with them.
We're working on it. Yes, sir. Reach out if you guys have anything. So, again, thank you so much. We're going to see you guys next time. Peace.